And according to the UNESCO's observation of killed journalists between 2006 and 2020, over 1,200 journalists have been killed around the world, with close to 9 out of 10 cases of these killings remaining judicially unresolved. Impunity has led to more killings and is often a symptom of worsening conflicts and the breakdown of the law and judicial systems.
It is in recognition of the far-reaching consequences of impunity, especially of crimes against journalists, that the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution at its 68th session in 2013, which proclaims 2nd of November as the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. The resolution urged member states to implement definite measures in countering the present culture of impunity, and the date was chosen in commemoration of the assassination of 2 French journalists in Mali on 2nd of November 2013.
So let's delve more into this topic, because today joining us in the studio we have AJI General Secretary Ika Ningtyas. Good morning, Ika. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning, too, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
Right. So let's just get started. So how do you see the impunity for crimes against journalists, specifically here in Indonesia?
Yeah, the impunity is a huge issue in over the world, especially in Indonesia, because our record that culture of impunity for crime against journalists in Indonesia is still strong. We record that any 9 the killing of a journalist since 1996 until 2010, but only 1 case brought to judicial resolve. And we have 8 cases, and there is no how the case will open and uncover to the public. And also AJI recalls over 900 cases since 2006 until now, but under 2% the case brings
solved?
to resolve,
Really?
and only 2%. So it's really shocking for us, especially you are a journalist, me as a journalist, and it's not only about the journalist's right as individual, because it's about the society right to access of information.
Correct.
If the journalist is under threat,
Correct.
it means the society is under threat too,
Yeah.
to protect the press freedom and
Yes.
get the free information. So it's, the problem is our problem, and we need to call the government and authority to seriously taking the step to end impunity.
Well, absolutely, because I mean, I've always seen the press or the media, especially in conflict areas, to be treated somewhat like the way medics are viewed. You know, these are just people here
Frontliners.
to report on what is
Yes.
happening, should be untouched
Yes.
when it comes to conflicts. But again,
Yeah.
obviously, that's not the case in many of these
Right. And of course, I think we're just still in a shock right now with what happened with the Palestinian-American journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh, that had just happened, just months ago. Now, if we're coming back to Indonesia, and you were stating the facts and also the numbers that is really shocking to both of us now, has the government take a further step then trying to end the impunity for crimes against journalists, especially right here in Indonesia, Maika, to your knowledge?
Yeah, we have not seen that government and or related authority to taking the serious step to brought the case in a proper of a judiciary or to justice, because if we know the most of preparator of violence journalists is the police officers, and only 1 case from the police officer brought to the judicial resolve. The case is happened in Surabaya, the Nur Hadi case. I don't know how the public know about this case, but it is important because this is the first case that AJI has access to bring the police officer to court. Although the sentence is lower because only 2 months to bring prisons, but after the police taking the appeal process, yes, the sentence only reduced, become a 6 month. This is one example how the police institution as the state body who have a responsibility to protect the journalists, but in fact, there's most of preparator. Yes, this is makes the cycle of violence in society, in our nation, is happen and happen.
Over.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't know because every day the journalists being is under attack in daily basis when they reporting in the fields.
Right.
Also about the media houses, because not only the attack is not only for the journalists, but also media houses, like we recall that Narasi, Konde was up under the DDoS attack.
Right.
Yes, it's like a hacking attacks, and they make the public cannot access the information from their website.
Yeah, and that's why I think, you know, journalists should have a very, or journalists and the law enforcement should have a very good relationship.
Well, of
right?
course.
Because
Yeah.
basically when we go to a lot of, we're seeing a lot of police stations, or, you know, we've seen a lot of journalists that's out there and they're talking with each other or not. And if you have a very special relationship, then it'll be easier for you to access
Of course.
the information that
We
you
see
need.
that all the time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So we pulled up some data actually from the
Yeah.
Journalists Association of Indonesia. Perhaps you can explain to us a little bit in regards to this data. So we see that the type of violence against journalists that occurred this year was physical violence, and most of these incidences have actually taken place in the capital, so around in and around Jakarta. So what does this data tell us?
Yes, the data gathered from our members
Okay.
in 40 branches in over in Indonesia, and we monitor in daily case,
Okay.
day every day, and all the data we can see how the seriously problem about the press freedom. Yeah, we has a confirmation that the physical attacks is always be as the highest, the
right.
violence in every year,
Yeah.
because we look at the any tendency from our society or our resource person who are not happy with journalist work. They always use the physical attack to silencing
Okay.
of the journalists or the independent media works. And also we have a new trend about digital attacks since 2019. And this seriously because you know that our works in a digital era is related how we use the internet connection
Yes.
with devices and with websites is another, but yeah,
So
this is a new
when,
trend.
When it comes to digital attacks on journalists, what is being attacked? Is it their personal digital data? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's like some the breaching of the data, exposing of the your privacy or data privacy.
Right.
Is,
Or if
is
you have an
called,
unnamed
is
source.
doxing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yes, and hacking your device is like a mobile cellular, and they hack WhatsApp
Got it.
and
Yeah.
Okay.
all
Trying to
social
get the
media
ace card.
account. Yeah,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
it's become a new trend now. So be careful with all the
Very unfortunate.
journalists.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because the most of even happen in central Jakarta. Yeah, it's related because this year we record that the digital attacks mostly in Jakarta because they attack of the national media. It's
Right.
like Narasi is the biggest digital attack in this year.
Okay.
And more than 30 journalists was hacked in personal devices, and also the Narasi website were
Right.
under DDoS attacks.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of sensitive information when it comes to a journalist's personal device.
Yes.
That's where, you know, again, like I said, there could be information that shouldn't be released yet or has not been confirmed, or unnamed sources, or people
Yeah,
need to be
yeah.
protected.
It's
So it
not
goes more than
treat
just a
your
journalist.
personal life, but also it will relate it your family,
Of
your
course.
networking
Scary.
or
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, and loved
Yeah,
ones
so
too.
everyone can have a same attacks.
Exactly. And there are certain also moments, Maika, where causes of violence against journalists now to increase, for example, during the regional head election, or the presidential election. And we know it's coming up very soon. So can you share about that, especially during the political year?
Yes, election one of the moment that we will face the violence will rise or not. But yeah, this is a serious issue for AG. So from this moment, in this Anti-Impunity Day, we will to call the government and all the media industry, society, businessmen, and other to taking seriously to protect the journalists and independent media, because you know in the elections, all the citizens needs a reliable and good information, because they need to have a decision from the good information, so they can have a good to choose their next leader. So if there is no journalist who can work safely every day, it's make the journalists cannot to gather the good information to the public. So the society is will not be have benefit from our journalists' works.
Especially political year, right? Because you have so many candidates, you have so many, fans or supporters, and in which, there are so many to cover and whatnot. And of course, as journalists, you need to cover the factual information that you need. But then you'll be pressured by all of that. You have the candidates, and you have the, again, the supporters and whatnot. So it's really going to be a hard work for all journalists in Indonesia.
If I was reporting on the election out there in the field and I was supposed to report in black and white, and suddenly I felt like my personal life was under threat, or my family, or any of my loved ones, it might become gray very quickly. Now, where, as it stands, where does the law stand in protecting journalists right now in Indonesia? I mean, we've heard of that reduced sentence. Obviously, that sets a dangerous precedent for things to come in case cases like this ever go to trial again. But as it stands, how are journalists protected? How well are they protected?
Yeah, you know that Indonesia has had law of the protect the journalists since 1999. I think it's the good regulation for now, but the problem is we look that the government and especially the police institution have not seriously to implement it of the
law
of
is
the law.
There, but we haven't seen it in action.
Because this is one of key of important for our democracy. If the government doesn't have the seriously or mechanism to protect us, we will to how the culture of impunity will never end in the future, and we need the mechanism, national mechanism to protect us. Also, how the media industry have it's like a guideline, training, and have it's like assistant, legal assistant, fund assistant if you have become a victim. So any exactly of good handling for the case if any journalist become a victim. And also about the police institution, we call the president who can act of the police reform, because it's related. If not the issues of a police reform, we will face how the police become a preparator from the future. So we need to work together with press council, journalist association like AGI, civil society, and other communities who can protect the journalist work in every day.
I think it is our duty, not only the citizen, but the police enforcement, also the army enforcements and whatnot. It takes all the stakeholders to be a part of it too. So, this comes to my next question. What does the journalist, though, Mbak Ika, has somewhat a regulation? Because again, as a citizen, I think every whatever badge that we have, we're all the citizens of Indonesia, correct? And sometimes we do need to cover, the true facts. But let's say, the subject that we want to interview and whatnot are not willing to give the information and whatnot. What kind of rules and regulation could a journalist, do we have someone like a fact that if that person doesn't want to talk to us, sometimes we as a journalist, we want to get as many information as we want, but we kind of step further into that red line? Do we have guidelines to that? And what kind of security that we have actually as a journalist? Do we know that we're also protected, and what kind of security that we have?
Yeah, in fact, that journalists must have the ethic, the conduct of ethic. It is one of the guidelines if we want to safely. And the second, we have training of safety for journalists. If you want to cover the demonstration, or if you want to cover the conflict area like a mining area or the Papua issues like something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so you must to know how you can mitigate if any violence, if any risk situation, and you need to have especially it's like tools.
Yes,
if you, equipments.
Yes.
And you must know if any emergency event, and you must know where you call, who's the person who will call to first, and when you want to run away from this site, and how you can to keep your equipment so it will to protect your interview or your data and something like that. But from latest IG research, we know that the journalists have a good about the safety knowledge, but the problem they don't want to implement it while they're covering sensitive issues. And the second problem that media houses, your industry media, is not support for your special equipment. If you want to covering the demonstration, they want to support your equipment. Or if you become a victim, they don't want to give you legal support, or the safe house, or the psychology services, like that. Yeah, so you know that journalist is like alone, and how the important of the journalist associations like IG can help them, because they don't the protect from the government and also from the media owners. Yeah, so it's really sad.
And there's a lot of things, right? National disaster is happening.
Yeah, it's one good example how the journalists come to covering the disaster, but they don't have knowledge about how to cover, how to protect their health. If you want to.
The earthquake, the tsunami and everything, they have to know the field.
Of course, the protocols. That's going to affect the integrity of one's reporting as well, if you don't have the proper support system. So we've talked about the police force, the government, the journalists themselves. But what can we as a society, just our regular citizens, do to get involved or to support ending impunity for crimes against journalists?
Yes, journalists cannot work alone, and IG cannot work alone, because we need more solidarity from the public to can condemn together how the government to can protect the journalists, and the police institution can to investigate properly all the case, so we can know who's the actor behind of the violence. Is it related with actor set, or related with highest profile behind that? Yeah, we need to investigate about that. So if the government and police institution seriously to stop the impunity, it will stop the violence in the society. The impunity is like a virus. You know, if the virus is not stopped, is not to kill, or we have a good intervention, like that, the virus can spread in other area, in other journalists or other media houses.
We need the vaccination.
We need to take seriously to taking. So we call in this important day of the world, and United States, United Nations also celebrate this day to can call the uncalled countries to can important step us. for
Yeah.
this story.
Yeah,
Indeed.
and we need to have these things in place, such as this day. I mean, it's a great start to have to at least recognize that this is happening not just in Indonesia but around the world as well. We need journalists. Sometimes we don't realize how much we rely on our daily news and
Yeah.
reports, and we need those to be as accurate as possible.
course.
And in order to get all of that, we need to protect those that are doing the reporting because they're the ones in the
Yes.
front line. So.
And our lives matter,
Yeah,
by the
indeed.
way. It does.
Maika, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a
great
special
step.
day, so we appreciate you taking your time to join us. This has been Maika from the Aliansi Journalists Independent, or the Alliance of Independent Journalists. We do appreciate your time. In the meantime, I think we should take another break. What do you think?
Yes, indeed, we should. And now we're going to take another break. When we return, we have updates from around the world. So stay tuned right here on the C Morning Show.